a book list for quote unquote so-called Black History Month. Ancient and Modern Britons, Volume 1 by David McRitchie. Real good book. Tells you about the history of the Aboriginal or indigenous so-called blacks or negroids of the British Isles in Europe. Okay. The Valley of Dry Bones by Dr. Rudolph R. Windsor. And who are the Valley of the Dry Bones? The so-called black people or Israel. True Myths. Black Vikings of the Middle Ages. We were everywhere, and we especially ruled in Europe, which is taboo and which is not talked about. Okay. Nature Knows No Color Line by J.A. Rogers. Real good book. The Negro Question, Part 1 by Lee Cummings. And he states that, the so-called blacks come from 3 stalks. The Aboriginal blacks, the so-called indigenous tribes, the black Europeans / Moors, and then the West African Judeans or West African Jews, because Jew is an ethnic group. In order to be a Jew, you had to be from the tribe of Judah, okay? As stated in the 1719 Negro Land map. Right here, Kingdom or Wida, Slave Coast, okay? We have They Were White and They Were Slaves. Real good book. Origin of the Anglo-Saxon Race, a study and settlement of England and the tribal origin of the Old English people. Real good book. Caucasian Man, Thomas William Shore. Symbolisms of Heraldry. Real good book. Hebrewisms of West Africa. 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro with Complete Proof by J.A. Rogers. The Negro Question Part 6, the 13 Black Colonies. Okay, everything's been flipped. Creole New Orleans, Race and Americanization. Okay, it just tells you that, what slaves came off of the coast of Africa, which were the black Jews or the black Judeans. Okay, we have the Negro Question Part 4, the Missing Link. Okay, Black Slave Owners, Free Black Slave Masters in South Carolina, 1790 through 1860. The Negro Question, The Negro Rulers of Scotland and the British Isles by Dr. John L. Johnson. Real good book. Melanin, A Basic Guide to Knowledge of Self. Babylon, Mystery of Religion, Ancient and Modern. Real good book. We got Judea Trembles Under Rome by Rudolph R. Windsor. Another good book. The Two Babylons, okay, or the papal worship proved to be the worship of Nimrod by Alexander Hyssop. We have Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America. Ancient and Modern Britons, Volume 2. Arthur Koestler, The 13th Tribe. The Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, The Revealing Word. The Negro Question Part 3, The Black Pentecost by Lee Cummings. Lee Cummings, The Negro Question Part 5, Joseph and the 12th Dynasty of Egypt. The Negro Question Part 2, okay, what do we have right here? The Kingdom of Judah, or Wida, the Slave Coast. Have a pamphlet, The Lost 10 Tribes, Anglo-Israel. The Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Walls. Real interesting book, to say the least. The Hermetica. Interesting book as well. America is the Old World, Volume 2, The Promised Land. Another interesting book to read. Return of Planet X and Its Effect on Mother Earth and Natural Disaster Survivors Manual, Wormwood. This book is interesting as well. So we have the 5 Negro Presidents by J.A. Rogers, another good book. Ibos, Hebrew Exiles from Israel, Amazing Facts and Revelations, real good book. As we can see, Ebos, later Ibos. Hebo, a corrupt of Hebrew, okay? Another good book, interesting, Terra Infinita, extraterrestrial worlds and their civilizations beyond the ice wall. African Holistic Health. This book was in Barnes and Nobles. Real good book. You know, separate the meat from the bones with any book and do your own research. Memoirs of the Secret Services of John Mackey, Esquire, during the reigns of King William, Queen Anne, and King George I, so-called black people. Who is Esau, Edom? I mean, they tell on themselves. That's all I have to say on that. From Babylon, the Timbuktu, a history of ancient black races, including the black Hebrews, root of R. Windsor. And we know we didn't go by the name of black, but to resonate with people, you have to use those terms because some people just don't get it. Hair like wool, feet like burnt brass. The color of Yahweh or the Hamashiach and the burning truth concerning the Messiah. The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, Volume 1. The Jewish Role in Enslavement of the African, quote unquote. Ley Lines of the UK and US. Interesting book. The Destruction of Black Civilization, Great Issues of a Race from 4500 BC to 2000 AD. Supreme Science, Volume 1. Another interesting book. Stargates, E.T. Undersea and Underground Bases Revealed. Another good book. Tribes and Promised Lands, The Origins of American Racism. Ronald Sanders. Secret Societies, the Illuminati, Freemasons, and the French Revolution. Herod the Great, His Life and Times. African Americans in the colonial era, from African origins to the American Revolution. And this was written by a Caucasian, so just separate the meat from the bones. The Life of Alado Equiano, I'm pronouncing it right. Another Hebrew or Judean, same customs. The Hebrew pharaohs of Egypt, the secret lineage of the patriarch Joseph. The Negro, a Jew, being a study of the Jewish ancestry from an impartial standpoint. Okay, real good book. The Religion of Jesus, the Jew, separate the meat from bones in this. The Medical Apartheid, the dark history of medical experimentation on Black Americans from colonial to the present. The Negro in the Making of America. Aristotle, so-called black man. Don't let them fool you to think that all the Greeks and the Romans were Caucasian or quote-unquote Esau. No, our people were there predominantly in those regions too. Tracing your family's genealogical history by records. Dane Calloway. Okay, the church history. Neanderthal. Children of the Light. Jesse Ventura, 63 documents the government doesn't want you to read. America is the true old world, Mew discovered. So right here we have the book, What They Never Told You in History Class, Volume 1. Real good book. The place of the Welsh in the history of Britain, because Welsh names equal black names. Okay, by William Boyd Dawkins. Real good book. The ancient black Hebrews and the Arabs. Okay. Right here we have the Anacalyptus, an attempt to draw aside the veil of the Sadic Isis, or an inquiry into the origin of languages, nations, and religions, Volume 1, Godfrey Higgins. And I bought this on eBay a few years back. The Holy Scriptures. Okay. And this was from a Jewish family. And look at the date, 1945. But real good book. Some of the words are, it only goes to 2nd Chronicles and it stops. Okay. There is no New Testament. All right. We have the Nag Hammadi Scriptures, a real interesting book, to say the least, as well. Separate the meat from the bones. We have the Tanakh, Hebrew, English. Goes from right to left. Okay. Then we have the 1611 King James Bible. This is one of my favorite Bibles right here. Real good book. Of course, you know, they have the missing books, or books that they taken out. To the Most High and the Mighty, Prince James, because there was no J back then, by the grace of God, King of Great Britain, France, and Ireland, defender of the faith, the Jacobites, right? So-called black people. As we can see, the Old Testament, the books of the Apocrypha, and the New Testament. So the covenant, or the Old Covenant, the Apocrypha, the books of the Apocrypha, and the New Covenant. Old Covenant, New Covenant, House of Israel, House of Judah. We have the Cipher, or Sefer. It's another book. You know, we got all the different writings. We have the Book of Enoch and whatnot. Good book. We have this book by J.A. Rogers, World's Great Man of Color, Volume 1, Asia and Africa, Historical Figures Before Christ, including Hannibal, Cleopatra, Zenoba, Aska the Great, and many others. By William Cooper. Okay, interesting book. We have World Mythology. This is an interesting book too.